This is the webinar for 7.4, which is input.val, and we're also going to talk a little bit more about scope. So in this video, we'll use input.val to retrieve a value from an input field. I will tell you that this is a challenging lesson for students, but also super exciting because this does a lot for their websites. And I would keep reiterating just how much functionality they can get from this one new thing. So this is the first time that students will be making input fields. Input fields are where users can type onto the web page, and then .val retrieves the value of what was typed, and that's part of jQuery. So in order to make an input field, you actually just need to write input for the tag. There's no closing tag, there's no text in there, it's just input. You can also add classes, just like we can with something else, or IDs, or whatever you want to your inputs. All right, .val is what grabs what the user typed, right? It grabs the value of what is inside the input and it stores it into a variable, all right? We always want to put input.val into a variable, otherwise you are grabbing the value and you're not storing it anywhere, you're not putting it anywhere, and I just tell them it like disappears into the cloud, right? So you always want to store it into a variable. So in this one, when you click the button, right, that's our first line, we are creating a variable, right, let message, right? So we're creating a variable called message, and we are storing the value of the input field into message. Then we need to use jQuery to have the variable message appear in the text, right? We have already used .text, except normally in the .text field we put in like hello, or for your last project, right, like you found the treasure in quotes. Notice that variables do not go in quotes. So this third line here is saying we're going to take whatever the value of the variable message is, and we're going to put that text into whatever class comments is. All right, again, no quotes. Okay. One thing you can do to check to make sure it's right is to have students use alert. An alert is a really simple JS that just alerts out what messages. I think we talked about this a little bit in Unit 6. You can also console log, which we will talk about when we do the guided practice as well. All right, so here's our guided practice. All right, so if we want the user's input comment to show up on the web page, then when the user clicks the button that's already there, the first thing we need to do is store the value of what's typed in the input box. So we'll say let, we can say comment. Let comment equals all right, so notice that the .val has an empty parentheses here. All right, I need to know what the value or what the class of input is here. I've got input class user comment. You'll also notice that this has a placeholder. Students will notice this, and this is how you get this like light text to show in here. All right, so let comment equal user comment. So if I am not sure if this works now, I can alert this. So I can say like alert, tell me what comment is when I click the button, right? Oh, I need to write something. Hi. All right, I know this worked, right? More professional way to do this is to console.log this. So now if I write hello, it's going to show up here in my console, hello. So now I know this works. All right, this is a good test because you have written a line of code, but now you want to know if it works. I can leave this here actually. It's totally fine to leave it here. Now we want to use that text to display it in the message div. So I'm going to put it into class messages, whoops, that text. And again, I want to write comment here. Hey. One thing that you have to remember, again, if you put these quotes here, if students put these quotes here, what's going to show up? Comment, right? Because this is a string now. You can tell by the color. All right? And now it's going to work. Cool. All right. If I head back one more time, I want to talk a little bit about scope because this is where scope becomes a thing. If I declare this let input here, that means that I can use it in either one of my functions here. The problem with this is that we got to make sure that we know what's going on here. So if I enter my name here and I click, okay, that works. If I enter my favorite color and I click, that works. All right. So then the question is really like, what is the value of input, right? Because it's declared out here and then something happens. So the value of input is undefined right now, right? Because right now it's nothing, right? Equals nothing, right? Now it's nothing. So if I put my name in here, I've got it here. Do I have my console log? Oh, I can't. The console log is only going to work because it's outside of this function here. But let's say I declare this here. First of all, it's not going to let me, right? So I'm going to comment this out. And then I'm going to comment this out. All right. Well, yeah. So if I actually, this is perfect. So if I declare it in here, I can't declare it again in this one. I need a new name. So it's important to have students choose names that make the most sense, right? And I know it's an input, but I probably want something like input name. And then this one could be input color. And then I just have to remember to change it here, right? So I have input name and I have input color. And then it's still going to work, but it makes more sense. All right. So that's kind of what scope means. What I mean by scope is everything that's outside here is going to work everywhere. Everything that's inside parentheses only works inside parentheses. I think of it a lot like math. If it's inside the parentheses, it stays inside the parentheses. If it's, or actually specifically curly brackets, if it's outside of the curly brackets, it is called global. That means that it works for everything. All right, we'll continue to talk about scope. We don't really talk about it too much with students until the fellowship course, but it's important to understand because a lot of errors that happen might be because students put their closing bracket here, or they put this outside of the closing bracket, and then everything gets all messed up, and then it's not going to work. And they're going to say, when they see this error, you haven't declared input name, they're going to say, I did declare input name. It's right here. And in order to explain it to them, you need to explain to them a little bit about scope. All right. Okay. Going back into the regular topic of input.val, I have the spicy version of this independent practice here. Please finish this off so that you can create this page with the login and then turn it in when you're done.